So we've actually just dropped a batch due to a power cut today on the till. So we need to go in to fix it. So we need to go into back office. So we're just going to log in. So we're just going to press the journal button and have a look at the view journal. Now here we're going to click on the opened column and go right to the top because we want to see the last batch that was opened. So you can see the date today is the 25th. So the batch that we've been working with today would be the batch that was opened at close of business on the 24th of May, so yesterday. So we're just going to have a look at the batch that was opened on the 24th of May. So you can see that batch here. It was opened at 6 minutes past 6 yesterday evening, and it was closed at approximately 10 to 5 today. So we can tell that the batch was dropped at about 10 to 5. So that's the starting point. We've got to take our opening amounts from there, and we need to follow it through each of these batches. This batch here, what it normally does is it opens, you start with your opening amounts, which you enter at close of business the night before. Then if the batch gets dropped due to a power cut or something like that, it will then create a zero batch. So this batch 2000 with the number 2003, that will have nothing in it. It will then create a fresh batch 2004. You can see here that they all happened around the same sort of time, within a few seconds of each other. So now this batch looks like it's had a zero opening amount, so our cashing up will be wrong. So we need to just start with this batch. So what it's worth doing actually is I'm just going to open Notepad here, and I'm going to take some notes as I go along with the batch numbers. So the first batch we want to work with is batch 2002. And it's worth making a note of the other batches as well. Okay, so we've got those. We'll just minimize that screen for now. So let's have a look at 2002. So we're going to just cancel that. And we're going to close this. Now we just need to go into the journal again, and we just need to update the batch info. This is where you can do an X or a Z report on a particular batch. So we're going to just type the batch number into this box here. So what was that, 2002? Let's have a look. Let's add that. And let's just check that out and see what comes up. Right, now we can see that that batch 2002 was blind closed. We can see that the opening total was £62.68. So that was the cash at the start of the day. And we can see that it's showing over and short by it's showing that the till is short by £640.45, and that's because we haven't cashed up, we haven't closed the cycle, so we need to fix that. So let's take the amount 62.68 and we go back to our notepad. So the opening amount was 62.68. Okay, was minus, what was that figure? 645.48. Okay, so obviously that minus 645.48 will be made up of credit card transactions as well as cash. and it might have been PayPal amounts as well. So we need to actually enter those correctly. The X report for the 2002 batch, I'm just going to do an X report now, and then we can get that information. So, right, so if you hover over the batch number here, it'll come up with a little magnifying glass. So what we're going to do is we're just going to click on that. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to generate an X report. If we generate an X report, that will show us how much it's expecting that we should have, that we don't have. So all of the transactions of the day. So let's just generate that. Then what we need to go into is the journal, and we just need to view the journal again. So the batch 2002, we just need to view the journal for that batch, and that should come up on the screen with all of the transactions. So we're just going to press the page down button until it gets to 36, which is the last one. So you can see that that is our X report there. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a note of, so you can see here at the top, right, sorry, this computer's being a little bit funny. So you can see how many sales we had. I'm just going to scroll down so you can see. Okay, so we had a payout of £25.50. Let's record that in case we need to know. So I'm just going to do a space under here. So I'm going to do transactions. Payouts. And then we're going to do card payments. So we'll do Visa, MasterCard, Visa debit, and we can always add any more that we come across on there. Payouts were £25.50, so let's just record that. So let's have a look. So cash, we've got the opening amounts already. What we want to look at is we want to just scroll down and have a look at, see where it says shift here. This is your transactions of the day that it's expecting you to have. So the cash transactions were £410.37. We have got, oh, this is nice and easy. We've only had Visa debit electron payments today of £172.43. So let's put those in. So £172.43 of Visa debit payments, and we didn't have any of the others. So let's just take those out. So now you've got all of the information you need to start to complete the first fix. So let's just close this window. And we want to go back into the blind close batch here, hover over it again. So now we need to enter the closing amount. So what we're going to do is enter the closing amount that it's expecting. So we need to do a couple of calculations here. Firstly, we can put in the Visa debit payments, so £172.43 here. Now your cash amount, so £410.37. Now we need to add those transactions to the amount that we started with in cash at the start of the day, so £62.68. And that gives us a total of £473.05. 473.05. So your closing cash amount should be 473.05, which we're going to enter. So we're just going to hover over this again, and we're going to do enter closing amounts. So we're just going to enter this new closing total of 473.05, and we're going to OK that, and then we'll just see this little screen here where it says over and short? Hopefully that should go to 0. Yes, so that's gone to 0, so that means we can now Z report and close that batch. So we're going to hover over again and we are going to Z report. Before we do that, actually, what we need to make sure is, let's just cancel that a moment. So we want to make sure we've got our closing total here. So 64548, it should be on here. So your closing total, we're just going to take that minus off now because that's correct, because we're going to need this closing amount to start our new batch, because this closing amount is then going to become our opening amount for the next batch. This all sounds a little bit complicated, but don't worry, it will all make sense in the end. So we're just going to generate the Z report. I'm going to OK that. And that batch is finished. So we're now going to go in to the journal again, and we're going to update the batch info again, and the batch that we're going to choose is the final batch. So do you remember the batch that was 2003 is a 0 batch anyway, so we don't need to worry about that. So we're going to just look at batch 2004 and see what information that's giving us. And you should be able to see all of that on this open and blind code closed batches screen. Now you can see what the closing total was here. So this is going to include other transactions throughout the day that happened after the batch was dropped. So we need to kind of merge all of these together. So the reason it's showing as over is because not only did we take money during this time that hasn't been accounted for, but it means the opening total is 0. So we need to go in to here and we need to enter the opening amounts. Now the opening amounts that we enter are those of our last closed batch. So we'll just go through that. So we're going to enter the opening amounts. So we need our notepad. So the opening amounts of cash are going to be the same as your closing cash amount. So let's try this. You can always change it afterwards. You can see whether it works or not by just looking at the effect on the little screen behind you. So we're going to just start this, and if there's any discrepancies we can work through those as well, so you can see exactly how it works. So 47305 is our opening cash. So 47305 is our opening cash, and our opening credit card amounts were Visa Debit Electron, weren't they? So they were only 172.43. So we'll enter 172.43 here. Now we're going to just OK that and see what it does to that amount. So we are over by £15.05. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy somewhere along the line. So we can't do that on the batch total here. We need to physically work out where that has gone. So what we're going to do is we are going to do an X report on this batch so we can see the transactions of the day and try and work out where we've gone wrong. Make sure that you generate the X report, not the Z report, because the Z report will close the batch, and if there's still discrepancies, then we're not going to be able to fix them. So we're going to go back into the journal here, and we're going to view that 2004 batch X report. So we're going to go all the way down again. We're going to press the page down button so that we can scroll all the way through to the last thing. So there will be 2 X reports here that you'll notice, because the X report was probably done at 6:30 when we realised that it was all wrong. So what we can have a look at is any discrepancies here. So let's have a look at the shift. So we took 530.95 in cash and then 6.99 Visa debit. And the closing amounts were 54.99 MasterCard. Not sure what that was. Okay, so that's slightly wrong. Now what we'll need to do, because I'm only going by what I can see on the screen, I'm just going to have to double check the physical slips, because it looks like some MasterCard's been taken but not actually recorded in the shift, so we could be slightly over somewhere. So let's take a note of, in this shift, so we took 530.95, so let's go to our little notepad. So we are going to do, let's have a look, we're going to copy this. And we're going to get rid of batch 2003 because we don't need that. Just going to paste this here. And we are going to look at, so Visa debit 6.99. And payouts 0. Let's have a look, actually, let's double check the payouts to make sure there weren't any more. Nope, so no payouts. So all we need to do now is just our cash, which is 530.95. So no payouts, and we're going to add this 530.95. And so what we're going to do with this is we're going to go into the batch, and we are going to enter these into the closing amounts and merge them with our other transactions and see what we come up with. So we're just going to close that. So we are going to, so we've entered our opening amounts. Now our closing amounts we have got to enter again. Now we're not actually showing any MasterCard transactions in the shift, so that's a bit strange. So anyway, let's see what we've got here. So our cash amount should be, let's bring up the calculator. So our cash amount should be 473.05, which is the combination of our opening amounts and our previous cash transactions. Now we're going to add on top of that the cash transactions from this batch, which is 530.95. So we're going to add 530.95 95. So hopefully that should be correct. So 1004. Okay, so that's our cash amount here. Now what we've also got to do is add up our Visa and our card transactions. So what's showing here is we've had Visa payments of 172.43 and another Visa debit of 699. So we're going to just clear that and add 699 to our previous card transactions of 172.43. And that comes to 179.42. So what we're going to do is enter 179.42 in here. And we're going to take that off. And we're going to OK that, and then we'll see in this little box here what happens, see whether that changes at all. Yes, so that changes to your over and short of 0. Now that doesn't actually mean that we're correct, because there could be a discrepancy with slips. So I'm only going by what we've recorded on the screen. However, if the credit card machine is showing a different amount, then we need to double check and see why that amount hasn't been put through the till. So what we need to check now is we're going to check all of our transactions for the day on credit card and make sure that they add up to 172.43 plus 699. So we need to make sure our credit card total is 179.42. And providing that amount is correct and that all agrees, we can then go in and do a Z report on this batch. If not, we need to just work out where we've gone wrong. Okay, so what we're going to do now is go into the journal viewer again, and we're going to look at that first batch, so the batch 2002, and there's a credit card discrepancy somewhere, so we're just going to check through right from 1 to 37 of the transactions just to see which ones they are that are credit cards. So I'm going to just put you on speakerphone actually, Rich, if that's all right. Okay, so we're going to just use the page down button again to just go through each transaction. Until we get to a Visa debit electron. So we've got a Visa debit electron of £5. This is at 11:10 in the morning. Then we've got one at 11:23 of 21.90. Then 54.99. £13.40. £19. £20. £14.99. £18.20. £4.95. So, sorry, what time was that? That is at 16:31. So it's been entered as 4.95. Hair dye, eggplant. So why was it put through as £5? Okay, so that means that the till they haven't, whoever put that through hasn't changed it on the till. Okay, so that's the 5 pence discrepancy. So I'm just going to go into the next batch now. That's the end of that. So I'm just going to go into the journal viewer for batch 2004. And I'll just read out the transactions from each of the card ones there. So I'll put you back on speakerphone again. So we're just going to do the page down button again. Okay, I've got a 5.99.
No £5.99.
So 5.99 at 17.46.
There's a £6.99 at 17.43.
Hang on, let me just. Sorry, 6.99. Did you say?
That's when they went through the credit card machine.
Okay, yeah, got that. That's fine. That is six. What did I say? Did I say 5.99?
Yeah.
Oh right, sorry. That should be 6.99. I just saw it on the screen. Okay, so 6.99. Yeah.
Yep. And that should be the last one.
That is the last one I've got here.
Okay, there is a slip here for £15. So that might have been when the batch dropped on that transaction. So it went through as £15 on the card machine.
But not through the till.
Well, that's what it looks like, yeah.
So can we? So what is that? What sale was that? Well, we need. Yeah, well, we need to enter it into the till, so you need to know what it was. Who did the transaction? It would have been the last one we did of the day. So it looks like whoever's put it through, 5:20, the batch hadn't dropped, so there was no reason for it to have not been put through. The batch dropped at 5:10, so it just hasn't been put through. So that tells me that the only people that don't put things through are t-shirt prints, because you don't have to put it through to sell it, whereas everything else you have to scan it in to sell it. Does that make sense? Yeah, but it's not essential. So it's going to have to, well, it's either going to be, the only things it could possibly be, if it hasn't been put through, is a t-shirt print or a body piercing. Now, unless we've done any piercings at that time for £15, it's going to be a t-shirt print, isn't it? Okay, so can you just put that t-shirt print through because the batch hasn't closed on the till, so that £15 t-shirt print needs to go through as a sale on today's batch. So if you can go and put that through, I can then re-enter the closing amounts and it should all be fine. Yep. Okay, so I'm just going to refresh that batch. And it says we're £15 short still. Let's have a look. I'm going to put the phone down and I'll call you back in a sec. Right, so it's still showing us £15 short, so we are just going to go back into the journal viewer. Actually, scrap that. So now we know that there was a £15 sale that had been put through. That's been put through now, so we're showing us £15 short. So we just need to go into our little notepad, and that total card payment there that we thought it was is actually incorrect. So the new total is 194.47. So we don't remember that we took this card transaction amount from the journal on the till, and if we were to go back and look in it now, it would show the card transaction amounts as 194.47. So we've got to carry that across to the closing amount. So 194.47 has got to go in the closing amounts. So this here needs to be 194.47. Now here it's just going to show as 5p over. Now the reason that is 5p over is because somebody put through a £5 transaction on the card machine because it's the minimum amount, but the till transaction was only £4.95. So in that kind of situation, what's best to do is just alter the till amount so it reflects what you're actually charging the card, and that will stop the batch being over or short. So now we know that that's more or less correct, we can actually overlook that 5p. That's fine. So we're going to go into that batch again, and then we're going to close that off. So we're going to generate a Z report, and that finishes the whole thing. So that will, okay, so it's saying this batch is currently open. You cannot generate a Z report unless a blind closeout has been performed from the point of sale. So actually what we're going to do is we're going to give these figures to Rich in the shop, and he's just going to double check on the point of sale, and I'm just going to ask him to run an X report again from the point of sale, and if that agrees with this here, he can then do a Z report and finish closing the till off for the day, and then he can put the opening amounts in so we're ready for trading tomorrow.